Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with your favorite hip hop and pop culture show, The Shifters, brought to you by Shifter Magazine. I'm your co-host, Kevin Bourne.
And I'm Vlad IT, everybody. What's poppin'? I'm wearing glasses today because I want to be able to take a better look at all the BS that's going to be brought up in my face today. It's going to be a pretty interesting topic. And we got a special moderator in the house today, Lady J herself. What's poppin', girl?
What's up, y'all?
Yo, and we got a special guest in the house today. We got Cy Kari from Shifter, the hip hop team, right? Real quick. He's going to join us to this for this special conversation we're having. What's poppin', my man?
What's good? What's good? Happy Hove Day to everybody out here. You know, we rocking Hove. We rocking that Rockaware.
Indeed. Happy birthday to Jay-Z himself, one of the greatest rapper who ever touched a mic. Without further ado, LJ, please, what's our first topic of the day?
All right, y'all. So this week has been a great week for reviews. Roman took a look at Creed, the latest film in the Rocky franchise, and gave it a 4.5 stars, saying that Jordan Thompson and Stallone all deliver another great performance in the second chapter of the legacy of Creed. Vlad also took a look at Dummy Boy, the first studio album from Tekashi 6ix9ine, and was pleasantly surprised, giving it a 3.5 stars.
Word.
Word. Vlad then dropped a review for Lil Baby's new mixtape, Street Gossip, and called all 13 songs fire. He then took a look at championships, but we'll save that for today's show. On another note, Ottawa Senators DJ launched his hashtag Make 'em Famous challenge, inviting rappers to add their 16 bars to his latest track, Famous. Recently at the Kenia Runway show on the showroom floor at Audi, where she showed off her previous collections, including her New York Fashion Week collection. That's it for the latest from shiftersmagazine.com.
Cool. So, LJ, first topic of discussion.
All right, 2018 has been rather a good year for hip hop. There was a lot of drama, but the music was great. Kanye, Cardi, The Carters, Eminem, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Pusha T, and Meek Mill. Ooh. The biggest names in the industry bless us with so much content that it'd be impossible to cover them all. So today, Kevin, Vlad, and Cy will give us their top 5 albums of the year. So guys, what are your top 5 albums of the year?
All right, who wants to take this one first? Cy, spot.
Our guest today can be the first.
All right, y'all want to throw me out at first. So I didn't really have an order for my album, so whenever they come out, they come out. So number 1, of course, you have to put J. Cole, K.O.D. on there. We have Nipsey Hussle, Victory Lap. I have Pusha T, Daytona, Push Thanos himself. Of course, I had to put Travis Scott, Astroworld.
You have to,
definitely.
of
course, come on.
All the noise in the chatter for sure.
And then, last but not least, Meek Mill with Championships.
Facts.
What y'all got?
Listen, first of all, I just want to say that I did not have Nipsey Hussle on my list, but it's definitely a good pick, I think, from my point of view. His sound is just unlike anything that you're hearing this decade, you know what I mean? Like, he's really tackling hip-hop in a very individual way, so I'm interested as to you putting this album on your list. Pusha T is Pusha, J. Cole, Astroworld, and Meek Mill's Championship. All of that is on my list as well, but in different orders, and I'll get into the specific of that. But actually fuck with your list, man. It's actually a pretty solid one. I'm surprised not to have heard like any Black Thought on that. Or
I mean, y'all know I love my 16s or 32s or 76s. Black Thought just spits and spits and spits.
Spits. Bro.
He had actually 2 albums this year, but I had to be real, you know.
Can you clarify for me, because his album was dropping as 2 volumes?
No, so basically what Black Thought is doing right now, he's making a series of EPs.
Okay.
And every EP he chooses a different producer.
Gotcha.
So at first, he's the Volume 1, Streams of Thought Volume 1, was with one producer, Stream of Thought Volume 2, etc., etc.
Okay.
His latest one is with Salam Remy.
Dope
gotcha.
Album. Okay, gotcha. So we're looking at technically, it would qualify as 2 different albums, technically?
Technically, yeah.
Technically, but
2
just
different
a
EPs.
continuation of the previous project. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, Kevin, you want to go next?
Sure. So for me, at 5, I had it's my sleeper pick. I have Testing by A$AP Rocky. At 4, I had Black Panther soundtrack.
Word.
At 3, I had Carter 5. In my last 2, I'm debating on the order. Again, I guess we're going into order after, but my top 2 are Championships and Astroworld.
Facts.
I guess we can debate.
Well,
those 2.
A$AP, explain to me how exactly out of all the projects, there's Daytona, there's there's just so many projects that were dropped this year.
I think it's just a matter of preference. Like for me, what the kind of hip hop I like.
Okay.
I think just looking at the songs that he had on there, he had A$AP Forever, what's the other one he had with Skepta? The name's
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord, yeah.
And I feel like I feel like Rocky has this very kind of a bit of an international vibe for him. He's like kind of very eclectic. Like he was a little bit versatile on the album.
Okay.
So for me, I just like, and plus even the two videos he had for ASAP Forever and
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. Like those two
It's your list, man.
Like those,
It's your list, bro.
Like
you sure about your list, man?
Yeah.
All right.
But those two videos were like could be considered one of the top, like some of the top 2 videos of the year. Like you look at the one that he did with the video with Skepta, it was like a crazy video, like New York, the whole New York and London comparison, and realizing that New York and London aren't that different. Like they both have black dudes hanging out in the hood. They both have the same corner stores. So it's kind of cool to see.
Which
like,
is a really powerful statement to make, is that especially within black culture in general. Yeah,
and I think with testing, because he released it released it kind of in the height of the whole Drake Pusha T beef, it kind of got overlooked. But he released it near when Drake released Scorpion, and then the whole beef happened. So because that was that was one of the best beefs like in years. Like that was the wrong time.
Horrible idea.
That was the wrong time
Bad
to release
timing.
an album, right? So I think I don't think it got the acclaim that it would have received had he released it probably even in September, October, November.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Well,
What you got?
me on my list, surprisingly, I have Black Panther soundtrack at number 5 because I think the soundtrack is actually. Remember when when the first Rocky movie came out and The Eye of the Tiger came on, and that was just an iconic moment, an iconic song that we associate with this iconic movie. I feel like a lot of the songs, especially All of the Stars with SZA and Kendrick Lamar, I feel like this song is actually gonna be, especially with the impact and the legacy that this movie is gonna have. I feel like it's just gonna be like one hand in hand. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna age very well. Because of that, Pusha T, Daytona. Listen, like for the longest time this year.
Talk about it, man.
For the longest time this year, that was
Thanos, baby.
that was my favorite album of the that was my favorite album of the year for the longest time, man. It just the games we play, that beat. Oh my God, man! It's just insane because out of that whole good music release period, I think only one of those albums was really good.
It's the only album that was really good top to bottom.
I would make an argument that the original album that Tiana Taylor was gonna drop was pretty good.
Until Kanye fucked it up.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a fact. But yeah, I found that surprisingly that was one of the best album Kanye had produced in a while.
Yeah.
Sorry, which one?
Daytona.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the best album that Kanye had produced in a while, and I'm a big fan of NASCAR racing, and Daytona is one of my favorite tracks. So bars right here, if you get what I'm saying. KOD. Of course, with J. Cole himself, especially given the fact that For Your Eyes Only was not really as well received, even though it was really well received among J. Cole's fans. A lot of people had to actually almost go to war with the other hip hop fans to actually defend this album.
They were caping for him. They were caping for him.
I want to say that they were, but the thing is that J. Cole is such a unique artist that everything he does. Like I find that this project was specifically what he wanted this project to be, which is a very personal take on family and all that kind of stuff. Like he didn't care for this project to be like Forest Hill Drive type of thing. You wanted to say something?
And the interesting thing with it is like he tackled some serious subject matter.
Yeah.
But it crossed over into mainstream. Like when that album, when KOD came out.
For Your Eyes Only, right?
I'm talking about KOD.
Yeah.
It was like when it came out, it was like that was some of the biggest buzz I've heard in a long time for an album. It was like everyone was talking about it, whether you were like just a super hip hop head or you were like more into like mainstream stuff. Like that, it was buzzing. Like on social media, like everybody was tweeting about it, everybody was Instagramming about it. So I was surprised to see, and he was tackling he was coming at the whole materialism of hip hop, like with the first ATM coming out against the materialism of hip hop and everything. So you think with that subject matter,
fire.
you think when people tackle that kind of subject matter, people would be like, oh, it's one of the old head OGs is trying to whatever, but everybody was feeling it. Like it was like, oh my God, it made some serious waves.
That's the beauty of that album, and that's why I have it in my top 5 as well. As you said, the subject matter is crazy. Yeah. He's talking not only about materialism, but he's really going against the whole anti-drug, this whole movement that Pop Xannies, Duane, all this shit. That's not really you know, people are now finding out the consequences of these things happening with, unfortunately, the passing of Little Peep, and people actually opening up their eyes and seeing what the consequences of that is. But not only did he do that, he said, you know, that little triple flow that you guys got from ATL, let me show y'all how I'm gonna do this one better. Look, go listen to KOD. Like, just go listen to that real quick. The title track. Come right back, pause this video, and then come right back.
It's funny though, because
by the way, your camera's right here, my man.
Whatever.
It's funny, like, for me, like I didn't have KOD on my list because I actually, to be honest, I found it a little bit boring. I find I enjoyed like his album of the year, Freestyle. I loved like him and Wale. Like together,
my
like,
boy.
like when they went, like my boy, like
Shout out
yo,
Wale.
like crazy, like those two tracks. I was like, oh my gosh, like KOD. I was like, it's good, like it's a good album, but I haven't revisited it that much since it came out. Like I haven't gone back and listened to it. Although I respect it as a good piece of art, I respect it as good hip hop. I was like, okay, it was good, but I won't revisit it that much.
I want to say that some of the because I want to get to my next pick here, but I want to say that some of the dopest hip hop albums I've heard, the one that had the biggest impact on me, just mentally and just as a man, were albums that I had a difficulty going back into because of how heavy the subject matter was, and that's what this album is to me. You know what I mean? Especially because, you know, I've made the joke before on other shows that I'm on, like I'm a hopeless romantic in a lot of ways. And one of the songs that he where he talks about love going digital, you know what I mean? It's something that I've been you know, talking about for a while, and just in general, like I just have the KOD had such an impact on me that it was hard for me to revisit it because it's not an album I can just put in the background. You know, every time I hear it, it impacts me like on a deep level. You know.
Well, since we're speaking of KOD, what do you think about the production on there? Because that was one of my main points. Like, he updated his sound to be current and modern, but without compromising his flow, his skills, his rap, and his message.
Let me tell you this. I think J. Cole is doing exactly what any artist from that generation should do if they want to stay relevant, is being able to adapt their sound to actually give their sound a modern take without actually compromising who they are and how they spit.
I think this year we saw that with Eminem, we saw that with Jay-Z, we saw that with Lil Wayne. Like, all of them have found, like, these guys who have longevity, they all kind of found ways to be like,
especially Eminem, especially Eminem.
Yes. Like, and Jay-Z too. Like
but Jay-Z can rap on anything. Like, it's not even. Like,
but we saw him different. Like even just like, you know, like ape shit. Like, you heard a different kind of flow from Jay-Z that you never heard before. So he's kind of,
you killed that.
Yeah.
You killed that.
Yeah. Where you're seeing all these older artists now starting to see how do I now, you know, change up the flow and change up the style a little bit to be able to cater to the new audience. So.
Facts. Well, to go to my second pick of the year, my number 2 was my number 1 for the longest time, man. It was Astroworld. Astro by Travis Scott, because that album was, you know, the thing, you can't say I'm not. No, the thing with Astroworld is that there's only so much that you would expect from Travis Scott at the time. You know, Travis Scott was that guy. He wasn't the guy that you go see on tour. He's the guy who opens for whoever you're seeing on tour. You know what I mean? That's who he was. And that album had just started a momentum for Travis Scott that he's still riding to this day. And that album came out in like August. Yeah, it came out in August. You know, and it also came out right after the Drake and the Pusha T thing. And people were saying, you know, like I think his previous album before that had sold 50,000 copies, if I recall correctly. I might confuse that with the first one, but this one went on to sell like 250,000, including merchandise and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that later. But it's the impact that this album had on his career and propulsed him amongst like the greatest names of the 2010s. You know what I mean? Like, when you talk about the 2010s as a decade for hip hop and the biggest influencers of the decade, you're gonna have to talk about Travis Scott. You know what I mean? And just the production and the fact that, you know, this album has a perfect introduction and a perfect conclusion, and it's literally a journey through, you know, like a day at a roller coaster. You know what I mean? At the roller coasters, like it's
thematically,
really,
it was really tight.
It
like
really
that.
was.
The sound was there. Like, you could tell that this is not just like, you know, a bunch of hits or a bunch of singles that you drop on an album. This was an album that was crafted from top to bottom, right?
Definitely.
And there wasn't any fluff. Like, you know, you listen to like Carter 5 and there's certain songs on you're like, okay, those songs didn't need to be on there. Or you look at Scorpion, there's certain songs where you're like, yo, this album would have been better if you didn't put certain songs. You listen to Astroworld, there's not much you can look at that and say, oh, that was fluff, or that the album would have been better without that song.
No filler.
Like, every single song, you're
Astroworld?
like,
Yeah,
Astroworld,
no
yeah.
filler.
Like for me, me personally, I can go through and listen to almost every song and be like, this needed to be there.
That's what makes it a great album.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it makes it a great
Well, my number one album to me has only one song that I didn't really like. It was a song featuring Future, but I'll get into that in a second. I'm just gonna give it up. The greatest album of the year is Meek Mill's Championship. It just is. Listen, and let me tell you why. Meek Mill's Championship. You're laughing, but check this out.
Oh, wow.
If there was one rapper who had received the media attention that, you know, some of the biggest names in just not even hip hop, in pop culture has received, is definitely Meek Mill. Because the statement that's happening with Meek Mill is more than just hip hop. It's actually like exposing the entire the biases that you will encounter in the justice system in America. And the fact that there's something broken about that system, and that there are people, you know, using it as a tool in order to just, you know, just illustrate their schemes or whatever. And Meek Mill was actually a victim of that. You know, and Meek Mill actually went from like, you know, that Tekashi 6ix9ine type of vibe to like actually becoming a voice for change in that department, to the point that, you know, that album, he matured. And I'm gonna say that Meek Mill at 31 is better than Meek Mill in his 20s, definitely.
Yeah.
Because like, and not a lot of artists get to say that, you know, by the time I was in my 30s, I was even better than when I was in my 20s. Meek Mill is at a point in his career where, you know, there is that album is giving Meek Mill longevity in hip hop. You know what I mean? He's actually becoming like, there is a potential for him to become like a household name in hip hop history, like a Jay-Z or something like that, just based on because again, his impact is not only hip hop, but it's actually like cultural at this point.
With his trajectory right
yes,
now.
Yes, exactly. And last but not least, don't be surprised if this album wins a Grammy, because of the statement that it would make just in general. We live in this very progressive era, and we're, you know, advocating for all those kind of social changes and everything. And I feel like this album kind of encompasses all those things that we value in a way. You know what I mean?
Grammys
so to me,
are not gonna give it to him, man.
Grammys are not gonna get. You'd be surprised.
Grammys always gets it wrong, bro.
You'd be surprised.
And the problem is like,
he at least gets a nomination for this one.
The problem is like, does the system really want this win for Black people? You know what I'm saying? Because this would
That's what I was about
to say.
Like,
it's like if he wins, this will be like like Black Lives Matter, Black Twitter, everyone's going insane. I don't think they want that. I don't think they want that kind of empowerment. I don't think they want us feeling that nice.
Any of these institutions that has a voter base that's over 45, 50 or whatever, I really, really, really doubt that they're going to get it right. Don't get me wrong. I do agree that it deserves it.
It deserves it,
but is it going to win a Grammy? I highly doubt that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it
Here's
did.
my question to you. Do you think championships, is that fair for other albums? Like if I'm XYZ rapper and I drop an album and then you see Meek, someone who like all the stars had to align for us to get championships. Like the man had to fight and win and get out of jail. The man had to go against an oppressive judge. He's been in the news pretty much this whole year. Mm-hmm. He comes out with a new perspective, with awesome new music, and then everything just seems to click right there. Do you think that's fair for other artists that just have...
Yes, it is fair, because here's the thing. Not every artist can ride momentum in the right way. For example, when Remy Ma had this whole thing going on with Nicki Minaj, people thought that she was going to do the biggest female comeback in hip-hop history. She didn't.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Momentum is something that you need to. You need more than the stars to be aligned in order to ride momentum. You know what I mean? Like Tekashi 6ix9ine. Whether let's say Tekashi 6ix9ine beats his case.
Oh, we're gonna talk about him.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. But let's say Tekashi 6ix9ine beats his case. Like, can I actually expect Tekashi to actually get on the Meek Mill type of level and advocate for the things that Meek Mill's advocate against, while still delivering some really hot music that actually just want to make me turn up? Absolutely not. It requires a lot of attention. It requires a lot of skills, and it requires a certain amount of mental awareness that Meek Mill was able to reach. But not everybody can do that. So I think it's fair.
And when you think about the amount of L's that this man took, like Meek Mill was like meme to death. Like all the memes about this man, like all like the Nicki stuff, the back-to-back, the jail. Like there was a time where he could not win at all. Like this man was like the punching bag of everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, is it fair that he's getting this acclaim and he's gone through this experience? Yeah, because he went through some serious losses, like wins and losses. Yeah, he went through some serious losses. And so I think for me,
he had some bad years.
It's worth it. I'm like, I love seeing the fact that he's there and he's gone through all these things. Not just jail. I think jail was like the last thing, but he's went through years of just like losing and losing and losing. So I think I think it is fair that he's now kind of has this new perspective on life and is winning in this way. So
for sure. So he does deserve his spot.
Definitely.
Okay.
LJ, I'm actually curious to go. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think at the end of the day, if you make good music, you should be rewarded for that. And he's made good music. So I think at the end of the day, good music speaks for itself, and I think he's done that. So
for sure.
And although we also have to mention that one of the greatest verses in hip hop history was
listen.
Spit.
I got this.
It was addressed on Meek Mill's album.
That's one of the moments.
That's one of the biggest moments. I had to listen the first time I heard Jeezy's verse, man, and I know you're gonna dive into it better. I'm gonna let you do that. I'm gonna let you finish. But
Jay-Z had the best verse of 2018.
He definitely did. But not just that. The first time I heard this verse, man, I heard a lot of smart stuff going on, but I just couldn't wrap my mind around all of it. So I just left it in the background until like I heard it chatter online, and I was like, okay, I need to go back and pay attention. Because you just know it's Jay-Z. You know it's Jay-Z on the Meek Mill's album, especially after everything Meek Mill's been going through, especially the Jay-Z post 444. You know what I mean? Like I was expecting Jay-Z to be on that, on that shouting master type of hip hop,
And he showed you he is.
He did. He really did. So anyway, let's dive a little deeper into.
Let's talk about my albums. So we all agree, championships. I don't need to really elaborate more on that. We're going to talk about the whole verse. We're going to talk about all the other moments on championships a little bit more. Travis Scott, I mean, we all caught the vibe. Y'all know the vibes. That's what his album was. To me, like musically speaking, there was no other better album. And it was just beautifully made and crafted from top to bottom, as I said before. Pusha T Daytona. Come on. Push Thanos, man. The only one to give Aubrey an official L.
I have that.
And
for
the
my
L
next
that
segment,
just
actually.
keeps on giving, because Aubrey keeps on trying to defend himself.
But he can't.
But he can't.
He can't.
He can't, man. I mean, I'm sorry if I seem biased or anything, but it's just beautiful to see, someone that's been 40-0, 50-0. That's why we all watch Floyd fights. Let's be honest. We all want to be there when he catches that first L. And we were all there when Aubrey caught that first L and kept catching him after that. That was mean. So, but let's not detract from the fact that Pusha's album is actually a great album. As I said before, I was saying this jokingly, but I think that that's one of the few good music releases that Kanye did not get in front of or didn't hinder in any way. He actually helped him. Pusha was on a lot of interviews saying that he had his album done, but then Kanye at last minute said, I can do your album better. And I don't know what it was previously, but what I heard right here, amazing. 7 songs, none of them skippable.
It's one of the only thing Kanye said this year that wasn't a lie.
Exactly. No filler. It wasn't a lie. It was actually there for it all. One of the albums that I had on my list that none of you guys had was Nipsey Hussle, Victory Lap.
It's on my top 10.
Oh my God.
It's on my top 10.
This album, first of all, executive produced by P. Diddy. Now I know why it sounds so great. Like the beats are straight up West Coast with a modern twist to it. Nipsey's talking that empowerment talk, that get your hustle talk, that go get your grind on talk. Like he's giving you jewels a la Jay-Z on 444, like financial jewels. And he's giving you the motivation to actually go grind that. And that album came out in February of this year, and it was perfect for me because I started the year on like the craziest grind, and that was literally the soundtrack of my life. So Victory Lap is really, really one of my top 5s for that specific reason. And let's see. We talked about Meek Mill, Championship, Astro, Daytona, and then KOD because J. Cole.
Kevin, you want to give a quick last summary of your list?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think my top is Astroworld, and I was debating the championships in Astroworld because for me, like those are like the 2 big albums. But for me, I was like, championships is too new for me to give it. Like for me, like Astroworld was like number 1 for like the past how many months, and then the album, Meek Mill dropped his album, so I was like, it's too new for me to give it the top spot. Like I feel like Astroworld has kind of like survived like the test of time. Whereas I haven't give like championships hasn't had that test of time yet. So that's the reason why I was like, you know what, I need to give it 2, like at the second spot. But I feel like in the next few months, my number one will change. I feel like as I have more time with championships, it's going to kind of be that number one. Yeah.
For me, I'm going to say that, we've already analyzed my list pretty deeply here, but I will say that I want to give a special honorable mention to Cardi B, because Cardi B was right. Cardi B was at that level where people wanted to see Cardi lose for some reason. You know what I mean? They wanted her to be a one-hit wonder. They wanted somehow like there was something about Cardi that people were just like, they just wanted to see her take an L, because they didn't understand her rise to fame. But I'm so happy for her. She's someone that you can actually be genuinely happy for her, because her album, again, 10 songs, very straight to the point. All of them are hits. All of them are hits. And she knows exactly what she's doing music for. She knows exactly who she's doing music for and what kind of music she wants to do. And it kind of cemented her as like, like a household name. She's actually the biggest star in New York right now, even more so than Tekashi. I'm obviously talking about the new wave of rappers and everything, but it's also the fact that hip hop has always been a male dominated area. You know what I mean? But Cardi's doing something where she on that one song she was on with oh my God, who was it? Easy G. Who was it? No Limit. She was on No Limit. Jeezy. She killed everybody on that song. Then they remix it with oh my God, I'm actually forgetting the names here off the top of my head. But no, it wasn't Nicki. They actually remixed No Limit, but they had like a bunch of names on that. I think maybe Nicki was on it. I'm not. I just remember that somehow Cardi is still killed everybody on that track. You know what I mean? And she's not a Nicki Minaj type of MC or even like a Lil Kim or Remy Ma or whatever, but she's a star, right? Anyway, LJ, I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. You've heard all of our lists. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about like our roundup, and where do you think everybody fits on that?
Well, first off, I fucks with all the album choices that you guys chose. Like you each chose like some of the same albums, but even like the albums that were different, like especially Cy's. Like I like the fact that you had Nipsey Hussle on yours, because I haven't even finished listening to that whole one, but he definitely deserved to be on the top 5. Yeah. KOD, you already know how I feel about J. Cole. Like I think he's an amazing rapper. His album definitely deserved to be on top 5, but having it in with, you already know my beef with that in Astro World. And that's only just because they're two different kind of thing. Like
you don't think they can be compared?
Yeah, because it's like I was saying earlier, Astro World is Travis Scott made it for to give you that experience, like it's a live performance, whereas championships, that's just,
it's like comparing Jordan and LeBron.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're gonna keep going back and forth. Eventually, you're like, they're two different. They're just very different. Like you can't even.
Yeah, but the difference too is that you're seeing those two playing in the same. They're playing in the same league right now. Jordan and LeBron never played in the same
league, but different league.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the league itself is like.
I guess so.
They both definitely deserve to be on top 5. I just don't think we could compare them album to album, just because it's too different.
Yeah. Well, that was it for this segment, guys. This is where we'll make sure to have our list in the description below of our favorite albums of the year. Maybe we'll be able to actually give you guys a little, because there's just so much music to talk about. We could probably dive into maybe a top 10 or something. We'll see. But that's our list. Make sure to comment and let us know what your list was. And without further ado, let's jump to our second segment.
So LJ, moving on to our second segment, what do we have for our next topic?
All right. So, it's also true that hip hop had its fair share of drama this year. We've also had some sad moments and some really exciting ones as well. Hip hop isn't just a genre of music, it's also a culture. With that being said, we also need to talk about the cultural impact that the artists have had this year, as well as the moments that had us talking and laughing throughout the entire year. So gentlemen, what were your top 5 moments in hip hop this year, and why were they so memorable to you?
Let's go for it. Well, I'll start with just one moment. I think Kanye was a whole moment unto himself. I think you could actually build a whole 5 moments just on Kanye by himself.
I don't know if that would be top moments though. Maybe bottom moments.
Yeah, bottom up. But just obviously him, Kanye at TMZ was a moment. Just the slavery is a choice, and just seeing how the whole hip hop community, how all celebrities kind of came against him, like that itself was a moment. It was kind of like literally like, what is Kanye gonna do next? Like you literally like if you had a show, like there's some shows where literally like was every day is like, what has Kanye done next? What has Kanye done next? So I think him, like he definitely was a moment unto himself, throughout 2018. And obviously the last one, just him being in the White House with Donald Trump, that was a serious moment, because obviously that's all over CNN, that's all over like TV. Everyone was talking about it. I felt uncomfortable with him in the White House. It just seemed like he was pandering to him. He was being sunned by Donald Trump. It was awkward. Like I couldn't even watch the whole thing because I'm like, this just feels. I feel bad for Kanye, like him being in the White House, like just him watching like him just debase himself to just kissing this man's ass. Like I couldn't watch that. I don't know about you guys.
Top bottom moments for sure. What about you, Vlad?
A top moment. Well, I didn't want to bring up Kanye because I feel like people talk about Kanye enough.
Yeah.
A top moment for me was probably XXXTentacion's death. Unfortunately,
Yes.
This is something that, if you're in high school right now, this is if you're a high school kid right now and all you know is the current wave of music, this is the equivalent of Tupac or Biggie dying for you. You know what I mean? Not for us, because we have this broader perspective on hip hop, but XXXTentacion dying was such a sad thing, especially where he was at. There's always that point in an artist's life where that turning point where they change their lives around, and he was just reaching that point. And the thing with XXXTentacion is that he was a really bad person and a really good person at the same time. Everybody has a good and bad side, and his sides were just so extreme on both ends that it's really hard to talk about him in a non-controversial way. And it's the fact that XXXTentacion was someone who half of Twitter was celebrating his death, whereas the other half was just mourning. And it's just crazy that the impact that this guy could have had, especially coming off the album that he had. That sold so much, and just the way he was trying to man everything together in hip hop, trying to help like Trippie Redd and Tekashi 6ix9ine end their beef and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a big loss. XXXTentacion is a big loss for hip hop just because of the potential of who he could have ended up being, and and the impact that he was trying to have on people's lives.
I remember
really emotional.
I remember the night when he passed away. Like we did a post on our Instagram account about it, and it was like he got some of the biggest engagement ever because of the competing comments. Like half the people commenting were like, "Oh, good, he was a garbage human being."
Yeah.
And then like literally that was a comment, and then there was another people that were like celebrating him, and that back and forth that was happening on our Instagram was like it drove up the engagement. But just seeing all those the polar opposite of opinions on this man, it was amazing to see how polarizing he was.
Yeah. Like, just like, the extreme version of what most human beings are, you know what I mean? In the sense that, we all have a good and bad side, but he was on some,
He never got a chance to mature either.
He died at, how old was he? Like, how old was he when he died?
Like 21?
21, yeah. 20. I think he was 20 years old. Yeah. And there's just like, it's sad because like, he was actually trying to change his life around, make up for his mistakes and all that kind of stuff. And now instead, we're gonna judge him for the mistakes he's done, and thank and praise him for the good he's done. But we're never gonna have a reconciliation of that, and that's impactful. That was a big moment. What else do you guys have?
Well, off of that depressing ass topic,
yeah.
into some beef. Push Thanos versus Drake. That was one of my top moments of the year because I mentioned this before. Pusha, everybody thought Pusha was gonna get Meek Milled. Like, he was gonna get back to back. He's like, no, please don't do it. Kevin was repping all of T-Dot at the same time while in Ottawa when Duppy Freestyle dropped. I don't know how he did it, but he was just cheesing. And then Pusha came and wiped everybody's smiles off their face. Like, Pusha was like the Grinch who stole Christmas. Like, he came through and fucked everybody's day up. Like, that's how bad this thing was. And just to see it develop, because I remember it was at the beginning of the week when he first dropped Infrared, and then right after Drake drops Duppy Freestyle. And we're all going through the week like, oh no, Pusha has until Friday to respond. What's good? You have until this and such. And then he comes
with the story of Adidon. Which is, you know what, the crazy thing about the story of Adidon is that it's not even a good song. It's just amazing gossip.
It's like Ether.
And that's well, no, Ether had some bars. Ether had some bars.
Ether's not a good song. You don't listen to Ether.
No, Ether had some bars.
Ether's a classic, bro.
Ether, but Ether
I
had
know
some
it's
bars.
Hove Day. I know it's Hove Day. Please.
But Ether had some bars though. Like the story of Adidon doesn't have bars like Duppy Freestyle had bars. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just like. Again, because there's two ways you can end your opponent in hip hop.
Take off the cape.
Was that?
Don't start caping.
Don't start what?
Don't start caping.
Hold on. There's two ways you can end your opponent in hip hop, right? You can beat them with bars or roast them to death.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's the thing about Pusha and Drake. Pusha has been barring Drake to death. That's never going to work against Drake. He showed us something that did work against Drake. That's what's amazing about this.
That's my point. That's my point. Is the fact that that's exactly the route he decided to go with. He's like, you know what? I could go bar for bars with this guy. I've already proven this, but let me just show this guy why, on a personal level, he should mess with me. And I love when hip hop goes for those moments too.
That's why I compared it to Ether with Nas and Jay-Z. I think Nas knew he couldn't you have Jay-Z doing Takeover on a Kanye beat. Like how does Nas recover from that? He got like super personal, talking your lips are fat, you're gay, you name your company after someone who has AIDS. I don't see bars in Ether. I see
you don't see bars in Ether.
It's just super personal. It's just
how many of Big's rhymes are gonna come out your.
It's just super personal.
Rockefeller died of AIDS. That was the end of his chapter, and that's the guy you chose to name your company after. Let's put it together. I rock hoes, y'all rock fillers. Now y'all trying to take my spot filler.
Bro,
what do you mean?
How's that different than story of Adidon?
All of that, no. There's bar. The story of Adidon is pretty much Drake. It's pretty much Pusha T going through all the reason. Now you're a deadbeat dad. Your mom was left. Your dad left your mom. Your afro is not nappy enough. You're not black. Your baby mama's a porn star. You should love her anyway for who she is. Your kid, you don't even like your kid. You're just trying to use him for sponsorship money. I just destroyed, by the way. I just destroyed your entire line. Like this is what the story of Adidon was. Man. Again, hence why I said there's two ways you can destroy your opponent when you're beefing him. You can destroy them with bars.
Or destroy their character.
Or destroy their character and roast them to death. And Pusha actually took the route that I thought that, if you're going to go at Drake, that's obviously the route you want to go with. What are you going to say? What are you going to say to Drake? Bars, people don't even care about Drake now writing his bars anymore. People don't care about that. It's not even something that you bring up. He even acknowledged it on actually, I think it was in the back of his album, actually. He had an entire paragraph dedicated to the fact that he doesn't write his bars and he doesn't even care about that. It's like, yeah, we know you're mad at that. Whatever.
Who's
Drake.
that?
Drake and E4 and 40 actually had this paragraph that actually came with when you downloaded the album on Apple iTunes. I think that's how it went, and you can actually go back and read it. And they talk about Drake doesn't write his own rap. Drake is too soft. And then at the end it's signed "We Know" Aubrey Graham. Just to show you that.
I think that's not him saying, literally coming out saying, "Oh, I don't write." That's same kind of.
No, but he's even acknowledged it. He's even said someone has actually asked him, "What about all the reference tracks?" He said, "They are what they are." He doesn't care. Even on the LeBron James, on the interview he had with LeBron and forgot his name. He even talked about writing music should be a creative process that's shared with people. Like you can't hurt him based on the fact that he doesn't write. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
No one cares. No.
He doesn't care. Drake absolutely doesn't care. What are you gonna do?
No, but I'm right. Anyway, I feel like because that would anyway. I think if that's were the case, though, this would have been all over in the news. This would have been all over in the news, yeah.
Well, we know a lot of artists do this. All these top artists. There was
this period of his life. Yeah, he used reference tracks, but is that his whole catalog? Like Drake doesn't write his shit. Like
no one said that.
We built his whole career.
No one says that. What I'm
saying
is that's what rappers. That's the narrative that rappers who come at Drake like to talk about, and Drake doesn't care. That's why I'm saying that Pusha could have gone about the whole you use a ghostwriter. But Drake doesn't care.
he
It
does
doesn't
care.
impact him because his fans don't care either.
It doesn't
But
matter.
I think for him, he's a student of the. Drake's a student of the game. Drake's not some pop star out there making he cares about being a rapper.
I don't
he
think-
cares about the legacy of hip hop. He cares about the culture of hip hop. He's not just some pop guy out there who's like, oh yeah,
And you know what?
Let me just be a puppet.
What
he
you
actually
just said-
cares. He actually cares about being on that Mount Rushmore.
This is true. He's one of the only people that will shout out Capadonna. And nobody here knows who Capadonna is.
Well,
Part of
yeah,
the
well, I think
Wu-Tang.
we all do.
Well, we do because we talk about we talk about hip hop and we love hip hop. But what you're saying is true. Drake cares so much about being recognized, about the craft, and about this and that. And I think that's why a lot of these things actually hurt him on the low. But the thing is, Pusha said, forget about that. He starts off his track by saying, "Ghostwriting aside, baby mamas aside, let's talk about your pride." And
At that
from
moment,
there
I
on,
knew
it was over.
It was over.
It was over. But that was why it was such a big moment, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Like 4 months ago. But what about you? What
For me,
what else
I
you
think
got?
another moment was MGK versus Eminem. That was a moment because that was the first time where you saw someone do damage. Back in the 90s, or even the early 2000s, Eminem was that guy that nobody wanted beef with. And you see interviews, even got someone like Game who was saying, even when he was beefing with 50 Cent, he's like, yo, I don't want white dude. A 50 Cent I'll beef with, white dude I'm staying away from. He literally said that. And so he was that guy that nobody wanted to beef with. All throughout, for the past how many decades. So the only guy who's done damage to Eminem is MGK. And when people heard that song, they were they weren't expecting that from MGK.
Rap Devil was pretty good.
They weren't expecting it was a good diss track.
It was the best diss track anyone has ever made.
Yo, your beard is weird. That's dumb.
It was the best. it was the best diss track anyone has ever written towards. Has ever been shot at Eminem. This is, for me, I have beef as my entire
Straight up,
moment.
just
It's
a bunch of beef moments.
I'm just gonna go through them real quick. I have MGK versus Eminem, Tory Lanez versus Jonah Lucas. Although that wasn't really a beef, but that was an amazing moment. Drake versus Pusha, we already talked about. Nicki versus Cardi. The reason why is because people were trying to take us for stupid. Telling us that you just don't want to see, three women staying on the. No, they don't like each other. We told you, wash your man. You should wash your mouth. Bro, they're on the same. You're on the track with Cardi and her man. Who else are you talking to? You think we're dumb? You think we're dumb? No, they hated each other. They hated stupid. They hated each other for so long. And the fact that, for us hip hop fans who listen to bars carefully, we knew. And the moment when all hell broke loose, people were acting shocked. Can you believe it? Cardi and Nicki don't like each other. We told you they don't like each other. We told you they don't like each other. And I like that. I hate when hip hop goes on that hypocrisy level where, it's the one form of music where artists are actually able to express themselves in a raw, format. I'm just glad they just went at each other and just, now we know. Now we know.
Now we know, for sure. I'm going to run through my moments as well. We talked about Pusha versus Drake. Don't take this the wrong way, but 6ix9ine going to jail right after Fat Joe warned him.
I have it as my number one moment.
Was one of my best moments in life. Because sometimes, bro, you just got to listen sometimes. Everybody and their mother was trying to tell you, and that's what happens. Number 3, Meek Mill getting out of jail and getting the verse of the year out of Jay. That was a huge moment for me.
So can I just add to that moment?
Yeah, sure.
Meek coming out of jail, being driven straight to the Philadelphia Sixers game. He
ringing that bell.
He literally got driven straight from jail to the Sixers game and rang the bell. And the crowd went, ah. You think that moment of him being released from jail, going straight to a playoff game, bang, bang. Oh my gosh.
You were talking about a year of L's. Ever since he got out of jail, straight W's.
Yeah.
Straight dubs. Straight dubs.
On the side of the jails of the prison apologist, that's pretty much what jail should do to you.
Reform you for real?
It's to straighten you up and reform you. And I like the fact that even though we're talking about prison reform, it did to Meek exactly what it's supposed to do.
True. That's true.
Stop
That's
this.
true.
Stop
messing.
this. No one should go to
Stop
jail.
messing.
Stop this.
But can I add
Anyways.
another quick moment too?
Yeah.
The Carter's booking the Louvre.
That's
Word.
cool. Yeah.
That was boss.
On some black
Excellence.
level,
Some black excellence.
shit.
Talk your
the
shit.
Black
Carter's
empowerment.
booking the Louvre was epic, man. I loved it. I loved it.
My 2 other moments, we talked about Meek Mill. For my battle rap fans, Rum Nitty versus Iron Solomon. Battle rap battle of the year. Honestly, if you don't watch battle rap, go watch that. Come back. I'm going to make all these guys watch when we're done. Yep. We're going to catch some bars. And lastly, because we do live in Canada, y'all know what I'm about to say. Legalization. Come and smoke for free.
It's a good.
It's legal. Land of the free. Holla at us.
Well, that's the roundup of our top moments. LJ, do you have any moment that you want to bring up or that you want to talk about?
You already know I'm gonna say
the launching of the shifters.
Cardi and Nicki. You already know, like, I'm Team Cardi. And it's not just for it's not for the hype, actually, because I was a Nicki fan, and I actually stopped being a Nicki fan before Cardi even came into the picture, because I just felt that Nicki was losing her side of music, and Hollywood was honestly like fame and money was getting to her. Like, she went more pop. She's very conceited. She's very cocky. Her bars weren't as hard. Like, her whole persona changed from when I was watching her, from when like Lil Wayne first like found her and everything like that. And then Cardi just gives us this breath of fresh air because she's raw. She just doesn't give a fuck.
Not just that, but Cardi also brings the best side of Nicki, because for the longest time I made the argument that if Nicki and Cardi were to go head to head on the full-on beef, we would be the beneficiaries of that beef, because Nicki Minaj has so much potential, but for 4 years she was super basing us to death.
Yeah,
you know what
Cardi
I mean?
Can literally switch up the roles and tell Nicki that you're my son. Like, I need you.
She was dropping those anacondas, but when Cardi dropped her album, we got Barbie Dreams and we got Chun Li. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, that's the side of Nicki. Nicki actually had to rap, and she's a dope rapper. Mm-hmm. She just for the last 4 or 5 years she didn't have to rap. So I like that. I like what you said. But so that's our second segment. Now let's get ready for my personal favorite of the show, the freestyle.
Okay, guys, so we've reached, my favorite part, the freestyle, and I actually have a very good freestyle topic for you guys.
Want to explain what the freestyle is all about?
So basically, I literally take all the time in the world to figure out a topic. They have no idea what it is, what it's going to be. I say it, and then, we have a discussion about it and see what their thoughts are.
Off the top.
All right, so should Spotify still be policing artists with criminal charges? Example, like R. Kelly, XXXTentacion. What are you guys' thoughts?
It looks like you want to go first.
I have to go first. It depends on the charge. I mean, if you're caught smoking weed in a state that doesn't allow weed, nobody cares about that charge. But R. Kelly should be buried under the jail. Like, we're talking about kidnapping girls, basically, forcing them to live with you, having them prepare press statements. Do y'all remember that video of that little girl? That 14-year-old in a corner just reading. It sounded like she was reading off a teleprompter, saying, no, she's fine, she's not under duress, and this and that. I mean, that's just nasty. That's just sick. So to me, if it's something as egregious as that, take them off right away. If it's something like super hate crime, take them off right away. Nobody has time for that. But, I mean...
I disagree.
Talk your shit.
Listen, because most of the artists that they were actually banning were artists who, listen, I don't. R. Kelly is not even on my vibe right now. I actually block R. Kelly on Twitter like it matters, but it's the fact that two things. Most of the time, the artists that they targeted only had allegations against them, and they weren't formulated based on actual, there weren't any verdicts out or anything like that. Second of all, my second argument is free speech. I mean, the United States is a very different country from Canada in the sense that everyone.
Spotify is not an American company.
Listen. Every artist who expresses themselves in America has the right to have a voice. Now, most of those platforms like Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they're privatized companies, and I don't care what side they lay on. You cannot make an argument against you cannot make the argument to exclude somebody from your platform just based on rhetorics that you don't agree with, or second of all, or based on behaviors that you yourself consider inappropriate, because now you end up becoming what you're setting up yourself for. You have to become the deciding factor of those moral issues, and it's just a subjective thing. You know what I mean?
Not
like
really.
You can't.
We were
for the
in
most part,
agreement.
for
We
the
were
most.
we were in agreement in the whole allegations thing.
Yeah.
You and me on the same page. R. Kelly, you and me on the same page.
But those rappers, though.
But here's the thing. You're talking about freedom of speech, which is something that's built in the law in America.
Yeah.
Spotify is not an American company.
It's not an American company.
Okay, so that's one. That's
Yeah.
one. You're also saying something that is right. If you are going to start banning people, you're going to be the curator of your own platform.
Yeah.
It is your own platform
Yeah.
at the end of the day. You're a private company.
Definitely.
You can do what you wish. Now, is that a smart thing or a wise thing to do? I'm not able to say that. But I think they still have the right to do that. Now, to which extent that they're going to do that, that's where you and me can probably debate. But I'm not rolling.
Here's the thing. I want to hear your opinion on that, but here's the thing. Those companies, first of all, they targeted rappers and black artists in particular. You know, what do you do with all of them? All the artists, I'm talking about rockers and pop stars who were accused of domestic violence, all that kind of stuff. Why didn't we see any allegation, any Spotify ban from those people? You know what I'm saying? It's also, like I said, like it's already proven that, you know, if you have a company making subjective decisions based on, you know, we don't like this person, we like this person, then you're gonna set something up that you're not gonna be able to stop. It's just gonna fall off your hands and it's gonna become very messy. It's better to just leave it alone. If the people, the second thing is, in order for you to make those decisions, you have to actually consider yourself a publisher in order to make those decisions. But those companies, like again Spotify, Twitter, whatever, they don't consider themselves publishers. They actually consider themselves just platform for the people who publish their whether it's like podcasts or music or whatever. So again, like the way it gets tackled, it becomes very different, right? And I just don't think that, you know, a group of people who don't even see eye to eye first of all can actually come together and make a decision as to who they're banning and who they're not banning, because that decision becomes way too subjective. And we've already seen that, you know, for example, with Spotify, that the only artists they went after were black artists. That's my point.
I don't agree with that.
I think for me, like, you know, people are innocent until proven guilty, and I think that's something that has like degraded today. Like nowadays, when like we're in such a sensitive culture where as soon as there's allegations, it's like we drop somebody, right? It doesn't even have to be proven in court. And I think the only way that I would support, you know, them punishing an artist is if they've gone to court, they've been proven guilty, and the charge is like a ridiculous charge.
Yeah.
I would instead of, for me, I would think the better punishment, instead of removing someone from their platform, I would just cut off their monetization. Like that's the real punishment. The punishment isn't them like removing them from the platform.
You can unfortunately cut off the monetization because most of them like have, you know, back record deals and all that kind of stuff. Like you can't. For example, just to clarify, for example, the thing that happened with Spotify, they weren't banning artists from the whole platform. They were banning them from official playlists, which is fine. It just affects them in terms of monetary because, you know, they're not on the hottest playlist. So I just want to clarify that they're not being banned from the platforms themselves, but they're just being banned from the hottest playlist.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's not an outright ban, then I don't necessarily see a problem. Like I think personally, just in general, I don't like the practice of companies of any kind punishing people who only have allegations. If they said, you know what, you have serious allegations, we're not going to put you on the hottest playlist until your whole legal matter is cleared up, I could, in certain circumstances, I could potentially agree with that. If they're not removed from the whole platform, but you're not on the hottest playlist, for me, I'm like, that's not a big deal per se, you know?
And I would agree with everything you guys said, had it not been for the fact that, for example, you're looking at a company like Spotify and they only targeted hip-hop artists. And again, that just shows you that, from my point of view, it would be impossible for those companies to make a decision that's based on a certain set of guidelines, because that becomes too subjective. Unless you were to say, for example, you've already said, even if they were to just say, you know what, we'll add you back on that playlist once your name clears out. That's an amazing idea. especially if there's court case and everything like that. That's an amazing idea. Spotify shouldn't want to promote those artists, especially like R. Kelly. Yeah. But the problem is, again, to bring it back to my point, they've only done so with hip hop artists or R&B artists.
But how many? I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But how many artists of other genres have like serious criminal records?
Oh, there's a lot.
I don't know.
A lot.
But see, here's where I tend to agree with
especially
Vlad.
on assault and rape and all that kind of stuff. It's
only going to be promoted and on Channel 5 News tonight if it's a rapper and if they have the agenda to, crucify a lot of these people from our community, unfortunately. But I mean, to each his own. And today on Hove Day, go subscribe to Tidal. I think that's the solution to everything.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good idea. Yeah. Or make your own playlist and the music is always available to you and whatnot.
Make your own stuff.
I just don't believe that those companies are able to to actually establish a set guidelines that decides who's on their platform and who's not. The moment you start, it becomes messy, and you actually they've already proven to us in their first attempt that they can be trusted to make an unbiased decision. So not for me. Cool. LJ, what do you think?
Well, no, I actually agree with everything, but except for like certain parts like of your argument. So one, Spotify definitely should look into all artists. Y'all need to stop hating on Black people, because I don't understand, because we are making you guys
the
have
hottest
views.
Artists are Black on Spotify.
Exactly, it's true. So y'all need to stop doing that, because we paying your bills. Number two, you definitely need to start looking at all artists, but I do think they should be policing, because even though they're not, registering themselves as like publishers or anything, they still have a standpoint in, the music industry, and there's still an impact, there's still a message that, they have to deliver. Like if there's an artist who does get charged, not like an allegation, but does get charged, and it's for rape or something serious, I don't think we should be promoting their music, because who you are as a musician is through your music too, and I wouldn't listen to you if I knew you were out here, raping girls or murdering people or anything like that. I'm not going to listen to you, because this doesn't make any sense. But I definitely think that they should police, but there needs to be more to it. It needs to be all genres of music, all colors of people, and not just a specific target.
All right. Well, that was some good insight. Anyway, now you have our opinion on that. That was a pretty good freestyle topic, actually. That really caught me off guard. I really like it. I really like it. I'm looking forward to this segment more often. Well, anyway, that wraps it up for our new episode of the Shifters. First of all, I want to thank Cy Kari for joining us today from Shifter Hip Hop. Thank you very much for being part of that conversation, man. Where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you?
I always like to say I'm really not that important, but I guess this time I'm actually going to drop the IG. It's at cy.kari if y'all want to follow me. I don't know why you would, but
Please don't slide in his DMs. I'm just kidding. You want people to.
Nah, Kevin, do not slide in my DMs. Nah.
I'm trying to set him up here. LJ, our moderator, where can people get a hold of you?
Best thing is IG is at thereal.ladyj.
Now they be sliding in your DMs though.
I'm not. No, I'm gonna curve you. And I'm gonna post it and tag you too.
She actually does that, and it's hilarious.
If you got a girl and you slide in, you about to get exposed.
You should follow her just to discover that she actually does that, and it's hilarious.
She can beat you up. So
she won't hesitate. Kevin Bourne, man, editor-in-chief of Shifter Magazine. Where can people get a hold of you?
On all social media platforms at Kevin R. Bourne.
And I'm Vlad IT. You can find me everywhere at just as Vlad. That's Twitter, Instagram, even YouTube. Just look me up. I'm out here. So, guys, that was our episode. Thank you very much for joining. Make sure to subscribe, comment. I also want to thank the guys at Lens Studio here. We got the sound guy, the camera guy.
Shout out to the sound guy.
Shout out to sound guy. Shout out to Heru. Shout out to Weggon.
Shout out to Weggon and all the crew here. We really appreciate you guys doing all the hard work behind the camera. And until next time, peace. Ciao.